And next we can install Vault. We're going to install it in dev mode, development mode. That's not production ready. It's unsealed and connected and it's all perfect, but not production ready. But for this lab, it's good enough. So it should be running in a bit. And let's have a look indeed if it's running. It is, but it takes a while. So let's watch that. Partially ready. Yeah, and that's ready. Perfect. So that's basically the development installation. Here it once again says development mode, don't do this in production. Both are ready, so we can continue with the next step. So Vault is installed using Helm, and now we can actually connect to it. So let's first connect to the container running Vault. There it is. And we can do all kinds of things. It's running in development mode, so free to unseal, and it has been initialized, so sort of perfect. We're now going to enable a secrets engine, key value store, and where we can store secrets in a bit. You see this path that's being returned here, so you could have multiple secrets engines configured on different paths. Let's write a value in that secrets engine under database and call it config. And in there's probably a couple of values, username and password. Little bit too long this line. Let's try to copy everything, see if it works. And yeah, that's perfect. This is a key value store, so it's a static secret. Nothing special about it. It just stores some kind of a secret value, in this case, probably the username and the password both. We can also get data out of it because we're logged in. It's running in development mode. And you see here that both password and username are now visible. But we don't actually need that password. It needs to end up in that container somehow. So let's do that in a bit. Now that that secret has been stored, we can hook up Vault to Kubernetes for authentication specifically. So maybe you have indeed exited. Otherwise, you need to go into the container again. Sorry, not otherwise. If you have exited, you need to go in again. Otherwise, you're still in that container. And let's enable Kubernetes authentication engine for Vault. That's done. And besides just enabling it, we need to configure it so that Vault knows how to connect to Kubernetes. There it is. More details can be listed here, by the way. Next up is to have a policy, and that role is hooked up to the policy. And as you can see, let's just copy paste and explain in the terminal. As you can see, that policy relates only to internal data, database, config. And whoever gets the policy gets read access, not much more. But it's sufficient, of course, to retrieve some kind of a secret. Next up is a role. Let's copy paste. That's hooked up to that policy. That's done. And that means Vault is now ready. It has a secret and Kubernetes can read stuff there. So that's spot on. See you in a bit. Let's configure a Kubernetes service account and first verify what service accounts we actually have now. There's a couple of minutes old, all very fresh of course, but we need some more. And for this one, we're going to create a file, copy that part and paste it in. In this case, you need some VI or so knowledge, or you can use cat and EOF. What do they call it? Well, let's copy the name too. It's very long actually. Oh, it's there already. That's perfect. That saves you a lot of time. That's perfect. And now we can apply that file. Copy and paste. So that's created. Let's verify once more. If we have an extra account, yep, we do, called internal app. Very fresh one. So that's also ready and prepared. I think we're ready to launch an application. In this case, let me briefly run through it before we actually apply it. There's an application here, it's all prepared, so we don't have to type a lot. So it's picking up things that are already there. We're going to apply it and see if it's running. And just to make sure there are no specific secrets in there. So that application will also probably not work. And that's the whole intent. We'll get back to that a little later. Let's first have a look if that file exists. Oh. Get that file. Yeah, it already exists, so great. It is exactly, I suppose, like it is. So we can immediately apply it. And that's done. And probably we're going to check status. Yeah, it's all there. Even this application that partially works or so is there. And we can execute here. And in this execution, we're going to list some file. And I'm pretty sure it's not there, but let's just verify that. Indeed, that file is just not there. And we're going to make that in a bit. We're ready to inject a secret into the pod. And what we're going to do is patch the deployment a bit. So that file should already be there. It is. And we're going to add Vault to it basically. So that application runs, probably doesn't work, and now we're going to try to make it work. Ooh, I nearly copied too many lines, just a single line. It's patched. And let's have a look at the status. And it's restarting stuff and so on. So give it a moment. Already and running, so that looks good. Let's have a look what the logs bring us. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And let's see. Oh, that copied too many lines. I don't think it's an issue. So the bottom part, these two lines are also copied and trying to be executed. That won't work. But the top line, the top line did work. And that's the most important part for now. So what did we actually do? We went into the container and catted a specific file that is mounted on Vault Secrets. And as you can see in there, there's a map with a password and a username. That's the password and the username we wrote into Vault. So in the container, we can now access the username and the password. It's a bit ugly still, so probably not ready for the application to pick up, but at least the data is there. So we're gonna make it pretty in a bit. So how to make it look better or have the application be able to use it? We'll patch the deployment again. Let's have a look at that file. Here it is, and basically what we're gonna do is tell it to make a specific file, but it's based on a template. So it's using this secret. It's writing to a specific file, and the contents is a templated sequence here. So PostgreSQL, // then the username, then the password at Postgres locally /wizard. So that should write that file out into the container when we patch it. So let's do that. That's done. Could take a moment, of course. Terminating, yeah. Let's add watch to it. Oh, everything is already ready, so that's pretty quick. So let's go into the container again and cat that specific file, and it should render out pretty usable, basically. So let's see if that indeed worked. Sorry for the clicking. Let's go back to the top. Oh, that's a bit ugly. Let's go back to the top. Here it is. So what we basically did in the container cat vault secrets database -config.txt, and we are returned with a nicely formatted file. No new line, but that should not be an issue. So that rendered out that file using a template. So good to go. We've just patched that deployment a few times. You can of course also initially get that data into a container or a pod. Let's have a look. Cat is a specific file that has annotations and is already set up to look at the right place with the right template and so on. Of course, we can also apply this. So let's try that. So in other words, you don't have to patch. That's created. And probably get the status. Notice they're quite quick, so maybe, no, they're all running. That's good. This was the payroll app or deployment. And once again, if we go in here, we basically end up doing cat vault secrets database config, and we should get that file nicely formatted out. And we do, and here it is. Once again, no new line, but that's not an issue. Happy we have colors, by the way. Yeah? So of course that also works. And here's an interesting one. So these secrets are bound to a service account. In this case, we'll try to deploy some other application that has a different service account. Not internal app, but website. The deployment will work, of course, that command, but it will never be healthy. Let's go over it and probably change it to fix it. Get that file, yep, and it uses the service account website. If we were to deploy this, probably get it deployed anyway. Here it is, but it will never be healthy. Copy. So if I would watch this for, it doesn't really matter how long, this will not be healthy. It's unable to get to Vault. That service account has not been authorized. So yeah, no deployment basically. Yeah, so let's troubleshoot that a bit. Why did it never get into a ready state? So we can investigate in the logs. It's still not ready, of course. And let's read a bit if I can see the error. Authentication error, context, deadline exceeded. Ooh, that's probably a bit too long already. Let's see. If I would have run this command a bit earlier, I probably would have seen that this service account is not authorized. So we need to fix it basically. And for that fix, we need to switch that service account from website to internal app. This file should also be prepared. Get that file, it's there. And if we apply that, it could get into a running state. See if we can catch it. Yeah, it's terminating and starting. So yeah, it's already healthy here. And it's stopping the old deployment. That will probably take a moment, but fine. You see the new one is already there and running, and both pods are ready. And of course we can have a look at that secret once more, just like the others. Let's go. And it placed that secret rendered for the application to pick up. So perfect. So these secrets in Vault are bound to a namespace. And what we're going to do here is create a different namespace to see that that namespace does not have access. So we're going to try to simply deploy just as we did a moment ago, using that internal app role, but that won't work. So we'll run into issues and try to fix it. Let's start by creating a namespace. It's there. And let's switch there. And so there's another, well, it's the same file, I guess. Yeah. Let's apply that. So we have a service account called internal app again in that other namespace. Let's have a look at this file. Probably move it up a bit. And we're trying to deploy, I think, the exact same thing actually, but that should not be possible because we did not authorize this, this namespace specifically, to use internal app. So I guess we're gonna run into issues. Let's have a look. So deployment works, but the pods will probably never get healthy. Oh. Yeah, it's still an init. Let's watch that for a brief moment. But this machine, this thing has no access, so yeah, that won't work. Let's try to troubleshoot, see where that comes from. So get the logs. And I think we missed it again. Yeah, let's just read here what should have happened. Error authentication, error making API request. Yeah, this namespace does not have access basically. So let's go into Vault again and modify a few things. We're in Vault now. And what we're going to do is write a new role called offsite app that's mapped to internal app, but for a different namespace. That's successful, of course. So we need to go out now. And let's have a look at that file in a bit. Let's get this file. So what's happening here for the deployment, we're using the role offsite app, which is now authenticated, or just a moment ago. And the rest is probably the same. Yeah. Copy, paste, that's done. And the status should now slowly turn healthy. Yeah, so the old stuff is terminating, the new stuff is already running, so should be good. Let's see what we're, have a look here at that file again. And there it is, it's rendered correctly. So now it does have access, we fixed it basically. So that's it for this interactive lab. A few issues there, so sort of created forced issues. That's really nice to see and how to solve them. So hope that helps you out, and hope to see you next time.